conversations that don't poke holes in each other's lifeboat and instead calm the waters and foster connection. I have heard many buffers comment on how they would like to be able to hold productive conversations the way Reverend Jim does. I'm one of those buffers. I'm very much looking forward to hearing his strategies and practicing them today. So let's start off today's service with an open mind, with our first principle firmly at the forefront, the inherent worth and dignity of all people, along with our fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. The hope is that we will leave today's service not only remembering these principles, but also better equipped to live them every day. Before we do the announcements, do we want to do our Zoomer greeting? Okay, great.
If there are there any other joys or? Oh, wait a minute. That's why you told me, so I would move on. Okay, now let's go to our chalice lighting and opening hymn, and then we'll have our joy thing concern. So Ralph is going to light our chalice. I'll read the words, and I'm hoping that Dennis, since he's right there, will light the chalice for us. Ralph, can you read the chalice lighting words for us?
Okay. The chalice has been discreetly lit off stage already, like Time Life says. We have done the work for you. I'll find a place for that word, Libby. We begin with two thoughts, one from William Butler Yeats, which is simple and short. Hammer your thoughts into unity. And these words from the Jam, from Paul Weller. Keep us divided with their greed and hate. Keep you struggling to put food on your plate. Get the Trans-Global Express moving and see our marvelous leaders quiver. They know that if it happens, their lazy days are over.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. And let us do this in unison. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now for our offering. If I'm wondering maybe if Jean and Ruben would pass out the plates.
We have a special offering today. Silas Lorenz is going to play a piece for us. We'll do the offering words first.
And now the offering words. This fellowship is a community of ourselves. Its resources are our resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. Okay, and now Silas. Oh, okay, wow. Okay, pretty cool. So that's a rockin' Rachmaninoff. Okay. So like, is that a thing? You're a pianist? Is that a good way to pick up girls then, or I don't know. So are you going to continue your music career after high school? Because you're a senior year, right? Yeah. So yeah, good. Well, lovely, very impressive. Today we're going to practice two very helpful communication techniques that I have found to be very helpful. I first encountered them in the pastoral care courses I took in seminary. They are active listening and I statements. Most of you here have people in your lives that are in a different place religiously and politically than you, who are often very difficult to talk to on these subjects. In a few minutes, Joanne is going to help us practice doing some active listening and making I statements. Before that, let's do some review. And if you would put up goals and strategies. Beth, last week we showed some goals and strategies for good communication. And there they are on the board. Let's just go through them as a reminder. The goals are to draw the hate and anger out of political and religious disagreements with friends and relatives, to help those with whom I am in disagreement feel validated and valued by me, even if I think they are really wrong or badly misinformed. Anybody have a friend who's really wrong and badly misinformed? Okay. And then I added a Maya Angelou quote: people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Continue the lifelong work of creating a firm spiritual ground on which I can take a compassionate stance to work for truth and justice. And note, my goal is not to change minds. Minds will, in the presence of love and respect, change themselves. The strategies are to become familiar with my own ego tricks for defending against anxiety by going one up on people or projecting my darkness onto them. Number two, learn to see the sacred in every person, especially those with whom I am in strong disagreement. Number three, use active listening techniques to really hear what the other person is saying, their fears, their joys, what keeps them in the game of life, what is their version of reality, and maybe learn a little bit of their life story. In fact, I guarantee you'll learn a little bit of their life story. Find and articulate common values that you share. Use story and experience to tell your version of reality. And when the discussion is depleted, just let it naturally move to topics like, will the Bears win the Super Bowl, or how good the veggie subs taste at Jersey Mike's, or something of the sort. For the Hindu god Shiva is at once and the same time the creator and the destroyer. Shiva, like all the gods, is a reflection of the human soul. It is important when communicating that you keep a close eye on the dark, destructive side of your soul, so it can inform you in your work, but does not run amok and damage communication. The goal of dialogue is allowing both sides to be heard and putting hate and anger in their proper place. And they do have a proper place, but probably not in an active listening situation. About 30 years ago, I had a conversation with the son of two of my parishioners in the United Methodist Church I was serving. Gosh, it's been more than 30 years, but 35 maybe. He had visited my church only once. I remember the conversation very well, and you will see why. I was attending some sort of awards banquet honoring people who had been of service in the local community, not me. I was seated next to David. When he sat down beside me, he said, "Oh, it's you." I said, "Hi, David." He responded, "I detest ministers like you. You are in league with Satan. You are taking yourself and your congregation straight to hell." So that began a somewhat memorable conversation. So I had several choices in ways to respond. I could have let my dark Shiva say something: "Thanks for sharing your opinion. I had not realized that you were a summa cum laude graduate of Moron University." Because that's there, when you have your dark side, that's there. Fortunately, my pastoral care classes cut in. I chose to use active listening techniques which work very well, even in hostile situations. I said something like, "You seem to have a lot on your mind tonight." Using active, and that's an active listening kind of statement. I see you seem to have a lot on your mind tonight. Using active listening techniques like looking David in the eye, occasionally nodding my head. This goes a long way in active listening, just nodding your head. And rephrasing what David said, I was able to learn that David was in the early stages of recovery from an addiction to alcohol and drugs. The vehicle for his recovery was a brand of very strict Christianity. Okay, for example, when David said he was disgusted with the way I used Eastern religions like Taoism and Buddhism in my preaching, something I did a lot of then, I paraphrased him by saying, "You really feel angry when I use examples from other religions to make a point." Eventually, the conversation turned to his A group and a young woman whom had just broken up with him. Turned out that she liked him much better as a drunk than she did as sober. By being an active listener, I let David discharge his emotional load, and there is always an emotional load. People carry a load with them all the time, and active listening techniques can be very helpful in helping people discharge. Okay, so when he was played out, I was able to use I statements to share my perspective with him. I was able to say something like, "I felt hurt when you suggested that I was in league with Satan, but now I see where you are coming from." That was I statement number one. I statement number two went something like, "One of the things I think I know is that religions are revealed to us through the human imagination. For me, they are like fingers pointing towards the moon. Each religion is a way of pointing to the same reality in its own specific time and cultural way. Therefore, all the great religions are valuable to me. I've also come to believe that the light continues to reveal itself through every human imagination. I think the light is revealing itself through you tonight. You just have to do the work of speaking the light in your own way." By that time, the banquet was over and we were standing outside. David seemed somewhat less judgmental and somewhat less hostile than at the onset of our meeting. So in the conversation, I was able to monitor my own hostility and hurt and use active listening to draw David out and hear part of his story. And I was able to use non-threatening I statements to share my point of view. Additionally, I used the finger pointing at the moon example from Taoism to make my point that all the great religions have value. And I was able to let him know that I was initially hurt by his words. So these are some things that you should know about active listening. And Beth, if you would put them up. And temporarily set aside your hostility and hurt. Open your heart in love and empathy if possible. Assume that the other is a good person who happens to disagree with you. This is not a debate. If you want to debate, there are the rules, and we could do that some Sunday too, but this is not a debate. Look the other in the eye and nod your head in the affirmative every once in a while. This is really the best active listening technique there is. When you're talking with a person, just you know what Judy's doing now? Judy's going, "Yes, Jim, you're right. I love you, Judy. Thank you." Ask questions to clarify what you think you are hearing. Give sympathetic feedback by paraphrasing what the other has said, like, "You felt betrayed when your best friend broke a confidence," by telling others that you are a longtime admirer of Joe Stalin. Or, "It was only after your wedding that you learned that your mother-in-law is a member of the NRA and often carries a concealed firearm." There are many variations. And 5, there are 2 kinds of I statements: I feel and I think I statements. I statements of the I feel kind should have your authentic feeling and connecting action on the part of the other. "I felt very angry with you when you parked your car in my garden." I think I statements are a bit, I think I statements, the I think kind of I statements are a bit easier. "I like to think that God looks out for those who trust in her." "I like to imagine that those who choose good are rewarded." Note, "I feel you are an idiot" is not an appropriate I statement. So let's do some practice, and Joanne's going to hand out. What I'd like to do is take your paper and pencil, and I'd like each group to have a piece of paper and a pencil. I'd like you to break into groups of 3, 2, 3, or 4. I would like, for example, I'd like Jim and Lisa to not be in the same group, or Bridget and Oren to not be in the same group. Let's break up, and so let's go ahead and do that. We'll take 5 minutes to write, and if Beth, Okay, now that's the first question is climate change is just another hoax perpetrated by the elite to gain power and further oppress people like you and me. So let's break up into groups and we'll give you 5 minutes. Can you read that? No, you're just supposed to write an active listening statement to that statement. You're just supposed to write an active listening. What would you say to a person who said to you, climate change is a hoax? Okay, we have 1 minute left, you guys, and this is an I statement. I statements only. To the very first statement up there. Did I? Yeah, to the first one, an active listening statement. Yeah, but you don't have to do that one yet. You just have to do the active listening one. So I think it's time to bring it in. How many people have responses? Okay. Yeah, let's pass it around and see what people said.
Thank you, ma'am. So for statement one, I wrote, it sounds like you are skeptical of some of the information about climate change.
Okay. It does sound that way, yes.
It sounds like you feel oppressed by certain groups.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, remember we want to keep these neutral. Other I
Okay,
statements.
thank you.
Well, I don't think I did this right, but obviously this is sort of challenging and debating, but I said I have read a lot of research and I found that there is evidence and proof that it is not a hoax, but what do you base your opinion on?
Okay, that actually is a debate kind of thing. Let's debate with one another. Yes.
One is I don't want to make any kind of judgmental thing. I just basically, I don't understand why they believe that, and I would very much like to find out why.
Okay, that's actually getting pretty close. I would suggest that you leave out the "I don't understand," you stupid idiot. I would say something like, I would like to understand why you're saying that. Help me understand what you're saying. Would
Yeah,
be,
that's what I said.
yeah.
Yeah, I think help me understand or tell me more is really good.
Tell me more. Yes.
Okay, I hear you feel it is a story to grab power from us. I hear you feel it is a story to grab power from us.
Okay, that's not a bad. That's a more advanced technique. It's paraphrasing. Yeah. But you should leave the us part out though, because that immediately identifies you as an opponent. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's the kind of thing that takes some practice. So I think you maybe should sit at the head of class, Jeff. So go ahead.
Yeah, we came up with you have a different perspective than I do. Tell me why you feel this way.
Yeah, that's good. Although I would just leave out the different perspective and just say, tell me how you feel. Tell me what you're thinking and feeling. Tell me, yeah. Because that immediately sets the tone of a debate. And we don't want to debate, we just want to listen. Hunter.
Okay. What I'm getting is that all this climate change talk really upsets you. It seems like another way people are trying to get over on us. Is that right?
That's actually pretty good. No, but I have to say that Hunter went to minister school. So
the bread Jim makes is the kind I would like to be able to make one of these days. It sounds like you're having a little trouble making bread these days.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Thank you, Gloria. we get a workshop.
Right.
Ellen.
Tell me more about the oppression you believe the elite use with regards to climate change.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Thank you, Ellen.
And then I have an I statement, which probably you won't like. I believe that whether or not climate change is actually a hoax, I can still do things to make our climate and weather more stable.
Okay, thank you. Mary Lou.
Mine is short. I think there are different views on this.
Yes, actually, that's that's an observation, but you want to active listen. You know, it's like, yeah, well, that's interesting. Tell me more, or
Yeah, okay.
something like that. Yeah, it's just really neutral statements that really are accepting of them. And thank you, Mary Lou. Anybody back there?
Over here.
Okay, we got two over there. And Patrice and Tina, are you? Okay.
I used to think that. Can you tell me more about why you think that?
You know, actually, that's quite good. Thank you. Apparently, playing the piano has some kind of.
Ralph put one, excuse me, Ralph put one in the chat that says, it sounds like you don't believe in climate change and certain groups are behind it. What causes you to feel this way?
Ta-da. Okay, very good. Perfect. Feedback, what was
And
said.
Joan says, it sounds like you think climate change is not real and intended to make our lives more difficult.
Okay, thank you. And Judy, did you have one? Judy and Julie?
You seem pretty upset about the concept of climate change.
Yeah, right. That's good. That'll one of those things. Oh, and you're a therapist, right? Okay. So once again, maybe a little advantage over the rest of us. So, anybody else? Okay. And I know we're running late, but I have the next statement is an I statement. An I statement is something like one of my favorite I statements is, you know, I like to imagine the universe like this. My intuition really has led me to believe that this kind of governance is the right kind of governance. In other words, people can't contest that. There's no contesting that because it's just your intuition, or it's the way you feel, or it's the way you like to imagine. So this next if you want to, and thank you for the contribution from the Zoomers. Please stay in the game. We're going to do one more. We're going to have 5 minutes, and the statement that you're making an I statement to is, it's coming up on the screen. Okay, this is a religious one, and this is, imagine your friend saying to you, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. So write an I statement for that. It's a little tougher one. Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah. Anyway, we got like 2 or 3 minutes left, so write your group's answer down, and we'll revisit them.
Why?
And we got something from Ralph and Lisa on the board there. A clarifying statement. Remember, I statements always start with I. I feel, I think, I imagine, I prefer, or I have had an experience that informs me. Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we got about 30 seconds left. And this time we're going to start with the Zoomers. So what are the Zoomers saying? What kind of I statements have you come up with?
Any Zoomers want to speak? Vanessa, you're unmuted now.
I don't know, like I believe in a polytheistic religion, but I'm always
We're not
interested
hearing
to
you.
why. That's okay. Never mind.
We
It's
got
not.
you, Vanessa.
I wrote one where I asked where I have to maybe incorporate more on I, but I was going to ask them, do you believe Muhammad is the only messenger of God? Do you believe Jesus was a prophet or messenger too? And like, sometimes I think it's a good idea to ask questions like, are there other messengers in Islam? And sometimes you can open up the door, like using, just trying to learn from them, or I see your approach is more open in that way, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. That's actually more of really good active listening technique. Is to do you believe this? That's kind of the questioning your way into a conversation. Are there other Zoomers? Joan.
So I was thinking about my Baha'i background, who believes that Muhammad is one of the many messengers that God has sent down. But I think I might just start by saying, yeah, I think there's some wisdom in the Quran, or that I understand Islam holds. Can you tell me what some of the most important pieces of that are? One, I don't know what they are. And two, it might let them share with me what is spiritual about Islam versus, rule breaking or rule making. I don't know, just as an opener.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks, Joan. That's very good. It started out as an I statement, but it kind of bled into an active listening kind of questionnaire for clarification. But that was pretty good, pretty good. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Now let's move to our congregation. Does anyone want to volunteer
I appreciate your belief system. I feel I've learned a lot from all religions.
Okay, yeah. I like that. That's short and sweet, and it affirms them in their religious belief, but it also gets your point of view out, that you have, that the I statement is to get your either your feelings out or your thoughts out, are both. Anyone else? Ellen.
I believe we each find our vision of religion, and I'm glad that works for you so well.
Okay. Very good. That invites further discussion. That's good.
I like to believe our world is wide enough for many religious ideas.
Yeah, okay.
I imagine that a God exists with his or her name are connected with our cultures.
Oh, very good. And Tom?
I choose a God that is part of us. Tell me how Muhammad can be in tune and part of me.
Okay, very good. Now, I just should say that Islam has a very strong mystical movement in it. It's called Sufism. And if you're familiar with poets, the poet Rumi are now Hafiz. Very powerful mystical movement in Islam, and that which goes very much with your way of thinking. So if this guy is might be on your page. So
I feel that there are many religious paths in life.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And that actually, when you say something like that, you might want to follow with an example. Like you might want to have a quote from Jesus or a quote from the Old Testament, and pair it with a quote from one of the Eastern religions. And if you know Islam well enough, you can maybe hit them with a quote of your own from Islam. So anyway, the statements are designed so that you don't set up a combat kind of thing. It's just saying, I love that you believe that, but I also love the way I like to think of the world.
Oh, I was just going to say mine was, I've not spoken with many of the Islamic faith. Can you tell me more?
Can you tell me? Okay, now that's a really strong active listening kind of statement. So thank you everyone for participating in that. So let's go.